Like last time, all of the vanillas get a 1 star, but a special shout out goes to Dagger Angel, which is yellow's second 1 cost 1 reduction spirit. This is one more piece to a theoretical yellow aggro deck, which I don't think is there quite yet, but it is something to think about. Empress Guardian Red Queen is probably the worst guardian of the bunch. And to reflect that, I'm giving her the 1 star treatment. This is just not a good enough payoff for playing other landers, especially since you need to have the Sanctuary in order to get the good effect. And while I'm at it, I will give the Pilgrim and the Sanctuary the 1 star treatment. The Pilgrim is just asking to be flood streamed on the main step, and the Sanctuary basically does nothing. Hand knowledge is nice, theoretically, but this isn't something that you want to commit course to constantly. Basically, I think the other lander deck is just a meme at this point, and the Red Queen is not going to change that. And neither are the other lander cards. Pumpty Dumpty, Wonderland Card Soldier Penton, and the Cheshire Cat, I'm giving all 1 stars. The Cheshire Cat is almost good. You could theoretically slot this card into a Fabled Beast deck, but I just don't think the effect is quite good enough to justify it. 10 Millennia Turtle Genbu. Actually a good card for Fabled Beasts. 3 stars. Being able to make Hippocampo and Dual Eagle unblockable, for the most part, is obviously really good. I don't think it's enough to make Fabled Beasts top tier competitive, but it's at least a start. And really, that's all yellow can ask for at this point. Judgment Angel Flagellum. Really interesting card. Obviously, you're meant to pair this with Exhaust Nexus. That way you reduce everything by 5,000 instead of 3,000. On top of that, she has Luster, so you can get the Exhaust Nexus back if you use it in the attack step. But I don't know if it's enough. I'll give her 2 stars. She's definitely going to see experimentation, but I'm not convinced that yellow is going to be top tier because of this interaction. And the reality is, reducing things by 5k is probably not good enough. But we'll see. I'm still really curious where this is going to end up. Rapier Angel, 1 star. A cheap spirit that conditionally gets luster is not good enough. Eagle Rider and Standard Bearer, I'm giving 1 star. After the disappointment that Raphael brought me last set, I'm not convinced that these 2 cards are good enough to make bird folks a thing. Macaroni Penton, 1 star. Kind of a funny card when paired with Freestall, but that's kind of it. Side note, am I the only one who thinks that the flavor text on this card is misplaced? It talks about ice princesses and mecha, which you would expect on a white card. Anyway, moving on. Great Eagle Thiazi, 1 star. Kind of an interesting choice to have a Fabled Beast have synergy with bird folks. Radiant Pyramid Triad, 1 star. It's supposed to be another anti-purple card, but we already have Harpy Nest. I don't think this will be replacing that anytime soon. Discontinue, 1 star. If this actually had a good effect, maybe this could see space in the side deck against blue. But no, it's just the standard gain 2 KBP. Magical Light. Hesitant, 2 stars. I can see a world where you play this alongside Flagellum just so that you have a greater chance of finding Exhaust Nexus. But even then, I'm probably just coping. Rapid Rule, 1 star. While the 2-cost deck might play this, it's not good enough. Okay, with yellow out of the way, let's talk about some important stuff. Sleepless Guardian Frost Tiger. This card frustrates me. It's a 7/3 Machine Beast, which is really nice because we love playing the Naman City Nexus, but this also wants you to play the Diamond Sanctuary, which is literally a do-nothing Nexus. And even if you do get the Sanctuary out, I just don't think its effect is good enough. We have Derm Dyna already. Why are we going through so many hoops to get a worse effect? And the sad part is, I still see a world where you play some number of copies of this, unironically, for the first effect. I'm giving this 3 stars. Its first effect, essentially being a better version of Pegasion, I think is good enough to at least see experimentation in white control. And I'll give the Diamond Sanctuary 3 stars, not because it itself is a good card, but because it is kind of needed to play Frost Tiger. With that being said, I'm giving the Pilgrim a 1 star. Deck space for white control is just so tight that I don't think you have enough room for this. Next, we have Sheriff Eagle. This card frustrates me even more than Frost Tiger, because it is clearly just a worse version of Axe Biter. Armor white and green is nice, but man, is that first effect just not good enough. And yet, I don't know if I can give it the 1-star treatment. I want to, but I do think it'll at least see experimentation, so I will give it 2 stars. And the primary reason for this is the fact that Floodstream is now a card, and this is prime bait for Floodstream. Also, it loses to Curse. I miss Axe Biter. Please come back. Dive Mech Capybot. Yet another weird card. And maybe I'm tripping, but I'm giving it the 1-star treatment. The armor blue is nice because it avoids all of the blue destruction stuff. But beyond that, I just don't think it's as good as something like Infinity Shield. I could be wrong on this card, but I'm just not seeing it. Mechanophon, 1 star. This is just a worse version of Sheriff Eagle. Valkyrie Hilder, 3 stars. Some people have been talking about putting this in some kind of mid-range good stuff, but I see this being played in white aggro. I mean, it's literally just extra copies of Valkyrie Mist. Yes, she is a little more expensive, but she does the same thing. She gives you a body while also bouncing anything. And as much as people say that Floodstream just kills aggro decks, I still think aggro decks will see play, despite all of that. And I think Hilder will make sure white aggro will still see some success. Shield Soldier Balder, 1 star. I just think the condition for its bounce effect is way too specific to proc consistently. Maybe in a world where Netherworld Depths was still here, maybe this would see play, but with that card banned, I don't think this card is good enough. Tank Mobile Mouse and Carrier Mecha Nord are 1 stars. These cards are not good enough to make mechas viable. What mechas really need is a really good turn 1 play, which Nord is not. Okay, time for the real cope. Snow-Capped Peak Goddess Skadi. Alright, hear me out. Turbo Rex. Did I do it? Did I make this card good? Please? 2 stars. I have tried so hard to come up with a way to make this card good, and I just don't see it at this time. Yeah, obviously Thorn Prison combos well with this card. If Skadi was summonable off of D-Rift, then maybe, but no. She might see some tech play in white control and maybe green Gale, but beyond that, it's just gonna be sad in my binder. Radiant Dragon Palace Braidablick. Okay. Hear me out. Buffalon Bill. Anyway, 1 star. This card is bad. Don't play it. Tank Mobile Hetzer. 2 stars. It's basically just a better version of Spring of Norn. And for that, I think it'll see some experimentation in white aggro. Divine War Gear Mega Tier. 2 stars. This is such a cool card. My only wish is that this spirit was able to bounce stuff with higher BP thresholds. 4K and lower is fine, but I do think it'll at least see experimentation just because it is summonable off of D-Rift. Brazingamen Necklace, 1 star. Another bad white nexus to add to the pile of bad white nexuses. Dimensional Rift, 4 stars. Being able to summon Enterprise off of this is really, really powerful. and I do think white decks are going to double down on Enterprise, and because of that, D-Rift is going to see play. Really cool card, and it can only get better with time. Very excited to see what this will do in the future. Eternal Shield, 1 star. This card just doesn't do enough to stop the mill strategy. Particularly, it interacts very poorly with Mandala. It does not stop the mill off of the wind summon, and it's not going to stop the first attack of milling. It's only going to stop everything after that, which is not good enough. Provocation, 3 stars. I think this card is so cool. It's just a really cheap bounce effect on your turn if you don't attack, and it's a really neat battle trick on the opponent's turn. It forces your opponent to decide whether they're going to have their spirit bounce to their hand, or they have to attack with it, which, in all likelihood, you're going to block and kill. I do think this card is better than people give it credit for, and it's definitely going to see experimentation. I'm really excited to try this card out. Yellow got 1, maybe 2 cards that keep it above water competitively speaking, while the rest of the cards were for 2 really bad archetypes that are still going to be bad. White, on the other hand, got a lot of interesting stuff to try out in the coming meta. Though, if I'm being honest, I think a lot of it is just trying to compensate for the fact that it lost Axe Spider in the ban list. And nothing is going to replace Axe Spider. Still, I think there's a lot of hope to be had for White, but that's probably my bias showing. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button and make sure you're subscribed so that you don't miss the final part to the Aquatic Invaders reviews. Until next time, laters.